Tonight, thousands rally across the country in a march for people, peace, and the planet. A coalition of causes coming together as one voice.
We want the federal government to work harder at some of these issues that need to be addressed and not just pay lip service.
The Draw the Line movement and its message for the federal government. An aspiring Olympian's desperate immigration odyssey.
Ever since the news came out, I've been jumping for joy.
The email that changed his family's fate. And we hitch a ride during harvest time.
We might be in shape for one of the biggest crops we've ever grown.
Western wheat, a tale of two harvests for this Canadian crop following a tough summer. What it means for you.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Good evening. We begin tonight with a rallying cry from thousands of protesters who marched in cities across the country today, part of a national movement called Draw the Line, raising concern over a number of issues and pushing back on Mark Carney's agenda.
Our climate's past the tipping point. What are you gonna do?
Protesters urging the new Liberal government to prioritize climate change, Indigenous rights, and social justice ahead of the fall budget. Demonstrators highlighting a wide range of issues, from potential cuts to public services to Canada's response to the war in Gaza. A call for action coming from many across the country, including renowned environmentalist David Suzuki.
Every parent and grandparent has got to get up there and speak on behalf of their children and grandchildren. If they're not, why the hell do we expect any change?
CTV's Natalie Van Roy on the protest in the nation's capital.
United will never be defeated. The people.
Liz Deacon and Carol Sulphur are seniors passionate about climate justice.
We want the federal government to work harder at some of these issues that need to be addressed and not just pay lip service.
The group, part of a large protest called Draw the Line, that moved through the downtown streets of Ottawa on Saturday.
Here for, as they say on some of the posters, the people, peace and planet, and certainly all the combinations of the different groups that are represented here.
A rally against Prime Minister Mark Carney's government priorities ahead of the fall budget.
It started out as a climate rally, but we realized that we need to build a much larger coalition.
The rally started outside the Prime Minister's office on Wellington Street before moving to the U.S. Embassy and the Human Rights Monument. Speakers set up as the crowd cheered on.
The public sector continues.
Similar marches were held across the country in Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, and Edmonton.
It's about cuts to public services and opposing the austerity agenda that's been announced. And it's about migrant justice. So the idea is to build a coalition of all the groups working on those different issues.
Protesters also painted a large mural in front of the Prime Minister's office that read "People, Peace, Planet, Not Profit." Organizers said the paint is washable. Police said 2 people were arrested for mischief in connection to the painting. Wellington Street was closed for the cleanup. Natalie Van Roy, CTV News.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford followed through on his promise to tour an encampment in the city of Barrie, north of Toronto. Ford's visit comes nearly 2 weeks after the mayor declared a state of emergency over safety concerns.
His reaction is like, we're going to figure out how to meet the day on this, how to provide help and support on the ground.
Mayor Alex Nuttall says the tour started at City Hall before heading to one of Barrie's largest encampment sites where they were able to speak with a resident. Nuttall has also called on Prime Minister Mark Carney to visit Barrie to better understand the city's encampment crisis. Around the world, Mark Carney and his cabinet are selling Canada. This week, the Prime Minister signed a new partnership with Mexico, while his finance minister met with European allies today in Denmark, pushing Canadian resources. But as CTV's Colton Prail reports, some experts say Canada isn't ready to service the very markets it's chasing.
as European finance ministers strategized how to protect their economies from Donald Trump's tariffs, Canada was the lone voice in attendance from this side of the Atlantic.
We have critical minerals, and I can tell you that was front and center in the discussion we had here. We have energy, which was front and center in the discussion we had here. And we are the only G7 country which has a free trade agreement with all the other G7 nations.
But the most recent data from Statistics Canada shows even as exports rose in July, goods to countries other than the United States dropped for the second month in a row, while imports remain near their 4-year peak.
Outside of energy and outside of services, when you look at what's growing in terms of our trade, the rest of it is not grown at all. There's going to be challenges there, even to find other markets outside of the U.S.
Energy and critical minerals are ingrained in Canada's pitch to allies, highlighted in its new partnership with Mexico. TD estimates Canada has at least $300 billion worth of priority critical mineral deposits, but most of it is still underground.
The timeline is not a few years. It's going to be 10, 20 years at least, no matter what we do.
And for the energy resources Canada already has access to, shipping LNG to Europe cheaply and quickly is still a long ways off, with most projects focused on expanding access to Asia.
We can't kid ourselves. There's no easy fix. Canada has let a decade slip by where we didn't really build many things, and that's a problem right now in our insecure world.
Experts say the timeline shouldn't stop Canada from pursuing these projects, but warn the payoff is distant and won't be a solution to the tariff pains of today. Heather.
CTV's Colton Prael in Ottawa. Thank you. Several major European airports, including Brussels, Berlin, and London's Heathrow, were hit by a cyber attack that caused cancellations and long delays for thousands of passengers.
It's going to be something like anything from a 3 to 6 hour delay in our flight.
Officials say the disruption targeted a provider of check-in and boarding systems and not airlines or the airports themselves. It was not immediately clear who was behind the attack.
Yeah, boy!
At least 3 people were killed and dozens more wounded when Russia launched a large-scale missile and drone attack across Ukraine. The attacks targeted infrastructure and civilian areas in 9 regions, including Dnipro and the capital, Kyiv. Palestinian health officials say at least 14 people were killed as Israel's military ramped up its offensive in Gaza City. Israel has been urging civilians to move south, but aid groups warn a mass evacuation will only heighten the humanitarian crisis. The latest strikes come as several Western countries plan to recognize Palestinian statehood, including Canada, Great Britain, and France. There is growing concern tonight about tensions between Taiwan and China. Taiwan's president said today his country would defend itself after Beijing renewed threats this week to take over the self-ruled territory. CTV's Jeremy Sharon joins us with the details, including Canada's reaction. Jeremy.
Heather, China has recently increased military pressure on Taiwan, sending warships and aircrafts near the island almost daily. Taiwan's president insists in the event of a military invasion, there would be no surrendering. Democratically governed Taiwan is a nation of 23 million people and has operated separately of China for more than half a century, but Beijing views the island as its own territory. Taiwan's president reinforced today his country is determined to defend freedom and democracy and a sustainable Taiwan in response to renewed threats from China. The restoration of Taiwan to China is an important part of the outcome of the Second World War victory and post-war international order, said this Chinese foreign affairs spokesperson this week, sparking reaction from Canadian officials too.
Upon China's invasion of Taiwan, how prepared are our armed forces to mount a massive operation to evacuate our Canadian citizens, permanent residents, or those with connections to Canada to repatriate them?
We do maintain the standing capability to conduct a non-combatant evacuation operation should such a request come from Global Affairs Canada.
Earlier this week, Taiwan released a new civil defense handbook to its citizens aimed at bolstering preparedness and informing people how to stay safe in the case of a Chinese invasion. Heather?
Jeremy, thank you. RCMP have arrested 16 people who they say were attempting to cross the Canada-U.S. border illegally into Quebec. The group was trying to breach the border near Saint-Bernard-de-la-Cour, Quebec. RCMP say the individuals were part of a group of 18 people, with 2 others still sought after by police. The investigation is ongoing. An update to a story we shared with you last weekend. An Olympic hopeful living in Ontario and facing deportation has just received news his family is now on track to permanent residency. As CTV's Kamal Karmali reports, this is far more than just a chance to someday represent Canada.
Tamari Lindo has been chasing a dream. For 6 long years, wanting to represent Canada at the Olympics as a hurdler, all the while escaping the threat of deportation. This week, a big step forward.
Ever since the news came out, I've been jumping for joy.
An email telling him his family is now on track for permanent residency.
I was on cloud 9, like I was so happy, but honestly, I trusted and I believed that, something would happen.
In 2019, his family came to Canada from Jamaica seeking political asylum. Tamari's father, George, claims he was targeted, the victim of 3 assassination attempts because of his affiliation with Jamaica's opposition party. They filed claims to stay under compassionate and humanitarian grounds. All the while, Tamari kept racking up medals, becoming one of the country's top-ranked hurdlers at a collegiate level. But during that time, the family received a notice of deportation, an interview scheduled with Canada Border Services Agency next week. That's when their lawyer began a relentless public campaign.
They were approved as we had this huge campaign going on across media and social media and thousands of people who were signing a petition.
Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada did not tell CTV News why it approved the Lindo family's claim, citing privacy reasons, but their lawyer believes a lot of it came down to public pressure.
I think it's a really great reminder to everyone that with that public pressure, as cliche as it might sound, anything is possible.
Now Tamari Lindo grateful for the path ahead and delivering this promise to those who supported him.
Every time I compete, I'll put them on my back. I know that they fought for me to be here, and now it's my time to give back and try to put my best out there at all times to be on the world stage.
Keeping his focus set on the Summer Olympics in 2028. Kamal Karmali, CTV News, Oakville, Ontario.
Many farmers in Western Canada are well on their way to finishing up harvest. It's been a tough year for some, facing drought and dropping commodity prices. Others managed to make it through with excellent crops. CTV's Alison Bamford has the tale of 2 harvests and how prices are affecting all producers.
The final push in a season that can be unpredictable.
It's the business that we're in.
Jared Gust is cutting the last of his canola, on pace to finish harvest before the end of the month. And he's predicting it will be one for the books.
We might be in shape for one of the biggest crops we've ever grown.
Gust finished combining his wheat earlier this month, but further south it could take weeks before their crops are ready to harvest.
We are nowhere close to being done.
We visited Dallas Leduc's farm in July when crops looked like they might be ready to harvest early. Drought had matured a lot of the fields and already written off some of his Durham wheat. But Leduc says late rain caused some of those crops to regrow.
Now it's made for just 2 crops in one field. So you'll have one crop that'll have been ready for 60 days before the next crop will be ready.
Once the last of his Durham is ready to harvest, the regrowth could double his yields, but the quality won't get any better, leaving Leduc with few options.
I'm pretty sure by the middle of June, July of next year, the bins will be completely empty. We'll have to sell.
Forced to sell at a price that's not optimal. Wheat and Durham are down substantially from prices 3 years ago.
When wheat prices are dropping, that means farmers in other parts of the world have had very good growing seasons.
Dropping prices likely won't translate to cheaper groceries, according to experts, with the cost of wheat such a small factor in the price of any final product. But it will affect farmers' budgets, even those with an excellent crop to sell.
Might be just a break-even average, low average year, so we'll just stop spending money.
Another challenge to face once the dust settles. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Davidson, Saskatchewan.
Coming up after the break.
Home doesn't look like home anymore.
How wildfire evacuees in Manitoba are confronting crushing losses. Ottawa and Nova Scotia are looking to launch the development of Canada's first offshore wind project, announcing today the first steps they'll be taking.
Today's announcement is for at least 3 gigawatts of generation, potentially 5 if the regulator determines that there's actually capacity to develop that. To put that into perspective, that's significantly more than Nova Scotia will actually be using.
Sean Fraser says this is an opportunity to create a huge clean energy development that will help turn Canada into an export economy. Public consultations will include input from the local Indigenous community, the offshore wind industry, and the fishing and seafood industries. Nova Scotia estimates the initial capital cost of the Wind West project at around $60 billion. A call for bids will likely be issued early in the new year. An anxious return home for some of the thousands of evacuees in Manitoba forced from their homes by devastating wildfires. CTV's Alex Carpa on the communities now trying to pick up the pieces.
Here's their back coolers.
Freezers and fridges in this grocery store in one northern Manitoba community are mostly empty.
Cooler.
Due to forced evacuations from wildfires and power outages, Irvin Biggity, the general manager of the co-op in Leaf Rapids, said they were forced to throw most of their product away. They say it's costing them over $1 million in losses.
There are stuff that we're still writing off today that because nobody's buying anything, they're expiring.
Irvin has been in the community since August 23rd, preparing for residents to return. He says it's been a very challenging summer.
We don't want to lose more product. We don't want to keep throwing stuff away. We want people to come home and buy our groceries and buy our meat and buy our produce.
Many evacuees like Irvin have made their way home and are returning to some sort of normalcy, but many people are still stranded in places like Winnipeg, waiting to find out when they can return to their communities. Last week, residents were told they would be able to go home to Leaf Rapids, only to find out 24 hours later that a return would be halted. Rose Biggity, who has been away from her home since July 8th, says it's been really difficult.
I miss my baking, my cooking, my cleaning. I miss getting up to my own home.
The earliest Rose was told she could go home is the beginning of October, but she says she won't believe it until she's on the plane.
We missed our summer. We missed all the things that people like to do in Leaf Rapids.
As grateful as Irvin is to be home, he says it's going to take a long time for the community to thrive like it once did.
Home doesn't look like home anymore.
Representatives from the town of Leaf Rapids said they are working on re-entry plans, but when residents get to return home remains unclear. Alex Carpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Still ahead. Which Canadian brewery is canning the concept of bottled beer? Cans versus bottles has been a long brewing debate, and now Canada's oldest independent brewery is preparing to bid farewell to bottles for good. CTV's Sarah Plowman on why and what it could mean for the price of beer.
Decades after bottles debuted at Moosehead, they face their final act. In a few months, bottles will be gone. More cans are coming.
We need to focus on what our consumers want, and that's beer and cans.
Once the top choice, bottles have slid in popularity as consumers reach for cans. Today, the bulk of Canadian beer is canned. It offers more space for labels, fits better in trucks and fridges, and some argue there are quality benefits.
The can is a much stronger preventer of oxygen getting in.
It was the consumer who drove the industry to a package the consumer preferred.
Ditching bottles for cans might be what people prefer, but will it cost you more? We had to ask.
No.
Moosehead says it's been eating the costs as its cans, like all aluminum cans, face double tariffs, and the price of raw aluminum has spiked.
That's hurting us. I would say it's manageable at this point.
Beer Canada notes some breweries have had to up their prices.
If that 200% increase in the raw price of aluminum stays around for a while, that will be just the tip of the iceberg.
For now, the focus here is on legacy. They've launched a contest for someone to win the last bottle made.
We're asking for consumers to tell us why they think they're our biggest fans, and the response so far has been great.
As for how the company's president prefers to drink beer,
So my grandfather said the best vessel to drink a beer out of is a glass.
tradition he can carry forward no matter what. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, St. John.
I'm Maria Saru in Summerside, P.E.I. Coming up on CTV National News.
This school teaches you to encourage yourself.
Free bagpipes classes for island kids and teens.
Fun and excitement, sense of accomplishment.
There is no catch.
And why U.S.-based philanthropists are footing the bill. Coming up on CTV National News and ctvnews.ca.
Finally, for us tonight, an exhilarating experience on P.E.I., but it may not be what you think. Here's CTV's Maria Saru on the scholarship that has orchestrated a meaningful opportunity.
These boys are learning the bagpipes for free. It's been nearly 5 years for Jordan Barlow Goody. He says some people love it, some people not so much.
I'm personally on the love it side. I find they're very beautiful instruments, and really the only flaw about them is that they're loud.
That's not scaring off his classmates. This year, at least 30 students signed up to learn an instrument at P.E.I.'s College of Piping and Celtic Performing Arts Center. All of them on a $750 scholarship funded by U.S.-based philanthropists Doug and Debbie Hall.
The first part's the trickiest, and then it gets easier once you get used to the fingers.
Some, like Aurora Ford, are just getting started.
I'm learning how to play the chanter. It's a first step to the bagpipes. It's like fun to give it a challenge.
Executive Director James McCaddy explains there's no limit. Every island kid between 8 and 18 is welcome.
Sometimes they think, okay, well, what's the catch? There is no catch.
His daughter is on board too.
This school teaches you to encourage yourself, and even if you don't get a medal or a prize, it teaches you to keep on going.
That is exactly why the Halls say they funded more than 50,000 classes over 25 plus years.
Becoming part of the pipe band, becoming part of something bigger than themselves is core to raising great children.
Doug Hall says the program goes beyond music, giving students a sense of belonging, accomplishment, and responsibility, all needed more than ever. So the Hall's support isn't stopping. The scholarship returns next year, another reprise. Maria Saru, CTV News, Summerside, Prince Edward Island.
That is our newscast for this Saturday night. I'm Heather Butts for all of us at CTV National News. Thank you for watching. Good night, and I'll see you again tomorrow.
CTV National News, Canada's #1 newscast.